Hi, everybody. It's Miss B, and I'm going to talk a little bit today, reviewing how we do pressure unit conversions. So you'll see at the top of my screen, I have the three different pressure conversions. Right, I'm trying to say here is that if I have one ATM, that's the same thing as having 760 millimeters of mercury. That's also the same thing as having 14.7 psi. So this is like writing all of those different equal sign statements, right? All of those for every statements. But instead of writing out a bunch of different ones, I can just write this as one long one because all of these are related to each other. That doesn't mean I'm going to do three conversions. The most I'm going to have to do is two, which means I'm going to have to almost pick and choose what it is that I'm working on in order to make sure I'm using the right units. Okay, so let me erase that circle. And let's take a look at this first problem. So my first problem, it says convert 18.5 psi to ATM. I have psi and I want to go to ATM. So I'm only going to use the first and the third conversion in my conversion factor. I'm going to start with the information I was given, so 18.5 psi. I'm going to multiply that by my conversion factor, remembering that the units I have for the conversion factor here are going to be the same units that I have on the bottom of my conversion factor fraction. On the top, I'm going to put the units I'm solving for. So I want to go to ATM. And then I'm going to fill in my conversion factor. So 14.7 psi for every one ATM. In this case, I'm going to divide because the 14.7 is on the bottom. When I do that, I get 18.5 divided by 14.7. I got 1.26 ATM. Let's try another one. So in this one, I have, it says to convert 200 millimeter Hg to PSI. For this, I'm going to use the millimeters of Hg and the PSI. So I'm going to use the last two of the three conversions. Like the other example, I'm going to start with what I was given. So 200 millimeters Hg. I'm going to multiply by my conversion factor. The millimeters Hg goes on the bottom. PSI goes on the top. So 760 millimeters Hg for every 14.7 psi. Now, this one's a little bit interesting because I'm going to multiply together the top, but then I still need to remember to divide the bottom. So I have to do two parts to this equation. So 200 times 14.7, that gets me like 2,940. I still need to divide it by 760. And when I do that, I get my answer, which is 3.87 psi. Now let's try one that's in a word problem format. So for this one, it says my daughter's scooter tire pressure is 55 psi when full. How many atmospheres is that? For this, I have psi to start. I want to go into ATM. So I'm going to skip that 760. I got that information by reading, so I know I have 55 psi, and then you'll see it says how many atmospheres or ATM. Okay, so just like when we did metric unit conversions, if you see a word problem, it's incredibly helpful to start highlighting or circling anytime you see a number with units or anytime you see units by themselves. That's going to give you some hints as far as what we are starting with and what we're solving for. So I'm going to take the 55 psi. Oops, using a new tool here. So let's see if I can erase that 5. Yeah, kind of. Times. Now I'm getting pretty confident with how I set up my fraction. So I'm going to set it up without trying to fill it in. So if you're getting to the level where you think you can just knock that conversion factor out, feel free to set it up like I just did there. 55, this time I'm dividing again. 55 divided by 14.7, that gets me 3.74. Oh, not PSI, ATM. I'm solving for ATM. Okay. So hopefully this was a really quick review for you. I know that when we went over this in class on Thursday, a lot of you were getting this. So hopefully this helps. I will not be available during your class periods today because of my dental appointment. So if you have any questions, make sure that you send them to me in Canvas. I'll get a look at them as soon as I can. And if you have any questions, make sure that you bring it up in class when we see each other on Thursday. Thanks for watching, everybody, and have a great day.